Accountability has always been something I grew up with and try to implement in my day-to-day life. Those around me are always and have always been expected to base their actions on whether they could justify it, whether that be to themselves or to others. However, lately, I have seen a dramatic uptick in individuals who do not want to be accountable and responsible for things that ultimately were their decision. I went on three different social media platforms and did some research on three issues relevant in our society today. So let's walk through what I found. Disclaimer that I do want to just put out there, none of these issues are super big. They're not world changing. They're not going to be anything big or profound. Just three issues that are going around on social media right now. I started on Reddit, and this post was posted in an unpopular opinion forum. Needless to say, this was a pretty unpopular take. If you're not at all open to birthing a baby or being someone who births your baby, you should not have heterosexual sex. If you are completely closed off from having a baby, this Redditor says, close your legs. You might be on birth control, but the only birth control method with 100% effectiveness, according to Planned Parenthood, is abstinence. So if you're completely opposed to birthing a baby, don't partake in the only natural process where birthing a baby is a possible outcome. Now, with this post, I can see where this Redditor is coming from. If you're going to make an adult decision and sleep with someone, take accountability and follow through. Pregnancy and becoming pregnant is a possible outcome, and no one is saying that that cannot happen. No one says anything like that. Yes, it is a possible outcome of the action that you're doing. This post got a lot of pushback. Comments included things like the same could be said for any risky activity, and that's like saying you shouldn't drive because car accidents happen. And to be honest, I agree. Oftentimes, it doesn't even register with people how dangerous driving a car is, and many people don't drive because being nervous about car accidents is so real. According to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, or the IIHS, there were nearly 40,000 fatal motor accident crashes in 2021, where almost 43,000 deaths occurred. However, this number does not include people who were injured on US roads in 2021. So people who got hurt in the car accident, but they're still alive. And according to the FAR's 2020 final file, about 2.5 million people were injured on US roads in 2021. In a survey hosted by the Zebra, it was found that fear keeps 1 in 4 teens from getting their driver's license today, which is something that we have been hearing so often recently. We all the time hear how the younger generation isn't as inclined as their older predecessors to drive or do this or do that, but this study found that they're scared. If you're scared of doing something naturally, you're not going to be as inclined to do that. There are plenty of anti-car people in many places in our lives, but this anti-car subreddit focuses on the harmful effects of car dominance in communities, the environment, safety, and public health. This user writes, driving is a dangerous activity that kills over 1 million people around the world every year. It is absurd to be anything other than frightened by it. We are conditioned to ignore this enormous and ever-present threat to our physical health. Being in or near fast-moving road vehicles is normalized, despite being one of the main ways otherwise healthy people die. So, yeah, if you're worried about getting into a car accident, you shouldn't be driving a car or getting into a car with someone else driving. Likewise, if you're worried about getting pregnant, you shouldn't partake in the only natural process that results in a pregnancy. Here's another opinion that was massively unpopular: the stance that there is no such thing as a homewrecker. This one is tough because while the married person is at fault, the quote unquote homewrecker is also at fault to some extent. Yes, the married person knows they're married and they know they have someone sleeping in bed next to them at night, but the homewrecker may or may not know. If the homewrecker knows, that is on them because they know they're cognizant of the situation, so they know what's going on. But if the homewrecker doesn't know, how are you going to put the blame on the homewrecker if your man, for example, didn't even volunteer that you were at home waiting in bed for him? If all the information is not provided, the homewrecker in this situation cannot make an informed decision and cannot be at fault. It's going to be the married person's fault who is pursuing the services of the quote unquote homewrecker. Lack of accountability also lives very strongly within the personal finance YouTube world, with personalities like Dave Ramsey, Caleb of Financial Audit, and Graham Stephan earning views by telling people they need to wise up and take responsibility for their actions. This Dave Ramsey caller called in to complain that renters were not paying their rent regularly. But if you're a landlord and your renters aren't paying you, who is in charge in that situation? Yes, it is on the renters to pay, but ultimately it's on the landlord to hold the renters responsible and accountable. In instances like this, it's up to the landlord to say, hey, you need to pay up. And if the renters are not paying up, come on, landlord, take on some landlord responsibilities and tell them to pay you. Chandler David Smith creates personal finance content on YouTube as well. He has about 200,000 subscribers at the time of this recording, but he came across my feed recently and said this.
So sick of people between the ages of 30 and 18 years old getting crap for being dumb with our finances. Because here's the reality, we're dumb with our finances because we have people like Dave Ramsey giving us our financial advice.
We are dumb with our finances because we have people like Dave Ramsey giving us financial advice. Okay, if you do not agree with Dave Ramsey's approach, do not implement his suggestions into your day-to-day life. There are plenty of personalities who help others with finances, and some of them don't agree with what Dave Ramsey suggests. If you're choosing to follow someone's advice, you should not be naive and or impressionable enough to follow blindly. Suggestions should be made as that, a suggestion or a jumping off point, a starting point for you to go and then do your own research and form your own opinions about what is being said. Maybe you can understand where that piece of advice is coming from, maybe you can't. But we've been hearing this for years. We should take advice from those we trust, and we should implement it into our lives as applicable and appropriate. If you do not trust Dave Ramsey, do not take his advice and his suggestions. If we find it neither appropriate nor applicable, we are the gatekeepers of what we do and do not implement into our lives. If you don't agree with Dave Ramsey's advice, awesome. Go find someone else to follow, or don't find anyone to follow. Make your own rules. If you do agree with Dave Ramsey and it's been monumental in your debt-free journey, even more awesome for you. But not all advice will be applicable for every single situation. Dave Ramsey, when he speaks, he is speaking to the masses. So when he is giving this advice, he cannot individualize to the microscopic level of every single person's needs, of every single person's financial situation, what have you. But if we look at the flip side of this, plenty of Dave Ramsey followers have gone through his program and have been extremely successful. Plenty of people who have been successful on the Ramsey plan, as well as people who have not been huge fans, have been more than vocal about their experiences, whether that is on social media, in your personal life. So it's up to us to make an informed decision for ourselves. Taking advice from one singular person is the equivalent of doing a research report using one singular source. And for years throughout school, we've learned, hey, don't use one source, don't pull from one source. If you can, pull from multiple sources and make sure they all agree. And that feels like something that has fallen by the wayside as we've gotten older. We tend to marry one source, marry one thing, and we kind of regurgitate. But I think that we should, as a society, get used to and start doing again, going to multiple sources, going to multiple different things to make an informed decision about what's going on, whether it's your finances or whether it's something else. Another huge thing I take issue with, because it removes a degree of accountability, is the TikTok made me buy it trend.
I know, it's my dream. Look at this. Look at this.
Never buying from a small TikTok business.
I'm thirsty.
Before I get too far into this, I do just want to make something extremely crystal clear. TikTok cannot make anyone buy anything. TikTok cannot make anyone do anything, let alone buy something. TikTok and those on TikTok might influence, it might share new items, and it can certainly act as an infomercial-esque platform for people to demonstrate how particular products are being used and how great they are. But TikTok cannot make you buy anything. I do not think it's good for us to be blaming an inanimate thing like TikTok for making us buy something. TikTok did not buy that thing for you. TikTok did not hold you hostage until you purchase something. TikTok did not make anyone do anything. You, on the other hand, didn't have the self-control to avoid an impulse purchase advertised to you by targeted marketing efforts and content creation. That's on you. You need to take that fall. That is 100% on you. For all of us, not just those of us who scroll on social media, for all of us, taking accountability for something has been something that we see less and less and less of. In today's world, many of us are quick to point out other people's flaws, but not to look at ourselves in the mirror and self-assess or self-analyze. Why is that? Is it because we live in a society where taking accountability is looked at as an admission of guilt and less of an opportunity to change and be better? Is it because others and ourselves are quick to recall what we did wrong when compared to what we can remember of what we did right? Is it because it's easier for us to call other people out for their wrongdoings than it is for us to call ourselves out and put ourselves in check for what we're doing wrong? With that, I think I'm going to end this video here, but I'd love to hear what y'all think. Feel free to leave your thoughts down below. Let's have a conversation about it. Thank you for watching. See y'all next time.